I think it really is impossible to separate your relationship with yourself from your relationship with your children. And what I'm seeing a lot in the work that I'm doing with families, and often where I'm working with parents who are either late diagnosed autistic or ADHD, or possibly still undiagnosed but having similar struggles, is that internalized ableism that gets projected onto our children unintentionally. Of course, we're always doing the best that we can. But I'm often seeing or hearing parents say things like, is this autism or is this them being lazy? I just don't want to excuse them. I want them to work hard, be pushed. I know what they're capable of, and so they need to be. I don't want them to hide behind excuses. And while I completely understand this sentiment, I often think about the idea of taking a step back and going, where does this idea come from that you can have potential, and if you don't reach your potential, you're lazy, or you're just not willing to push yourself, or that somehow that is due to a fault of your own. And then I invite parents to think about that and think about, were you lazy? Were you told you were lazy? Did you feel that you were lazy when you didn't do what you thought you should do or what parents wanted you to do? And is that the message that you're handing over to your child right now? Because telling a neurodivergent person that they're lazy really isn't a very accurate assessment of what's going on for that person. Kids do well if they can. You would have done well if you could, as a child and as an adult. And this is an invitation for you to think about, what are the messages that I hold about myself? When am I being unkind to myself, and where do those messages come from in my childhood? And what were the messages that were given to me and that I potentially still now believe and now project onto my children? And I think in those moments when we have this urge to think that the behavior is somehow manipulative or as a result of being lazy or not wanting to do things or not wanting to perform, I think the key thing to do in those moments is to bring the focus back to ourselves and put our hand on our heart and go, wow, is this a message that you had? Is this internalized ableism? Is this a belief that you hold because of the messages that you were given as a child? So always practicing that self-awareness and that self-inquiry about what lies beneath the surface. What are the drivers behind our motivations and our behaviors and the demands that we place on our children?